2 years ago, half of young Americans still believed that if you worked hard, you'd get ahead. Today, that number has dropped to 36%. Not a slow decline, a collapse in under 2 years. And it's not just a feeling. Economists have actually documented what's happening, and the term they're using is financial nihilism. Here's what that means in practice. When housing prices climb high, enough that saving your way to a down payment becomes mathematically impossible, something shifts. Researchers found that instead of continuing to save toward a goal that keeps moving further away, many young people simply stop trying. They spend more. They save less. They take bigger investment risks. Not because they're being reckless, because the traditional path stopped making sense. My name is Jack. If you've ever felt like working hard isn't actually getting you anywhere, this video is going to explain why that's not just in your head. Let's start with the data, because this isn't vibes, it's measurable. A recent Harris poll found that 46% of Gen Z respondents agreed with this statement. No matter how hard I work, I will never be able to afford a home I really love. Nearly half. Not people who haven't tried. People who've concluded, based on the actual math in front of them, that the traditional milestone simply isn't reachable. And the housing data backs that conclusion up. The average age of a first-time homebuyer just hit an all-time high of 40. Not because people don't want homes earlier, because the math genuinely doesn't work until later, if at all. Meanwhile, the share of first-time buyers has dropped to a record low of 21%, meaning the market itself is increasingly dominated by people who already own, not people trying to break in. Here's where the giving up pattern actually gets studied and named. Researchers from Northwestern and the University of Chicago found something specific. When home prices rise past the point where saving your wages could realistically get you there, renters don't just keep saving anyway. They cross a threshold, and once they cross it, they stop saving toward that goal entirely and start spending the money instead. It's not irrational. If a goal becomes provably unreachable, continuing to sacrifice for it stops making economic sense. The behavior shift is a rational response to an irrational market. This is also why nearly half of Gen Z doesn't have an emergency fund saved. It's not purely a discipline problem. It's what economists are calling financial nihilism. A reasonable response to watching 3 major economic downturns unfold during your formative working years. While wages stayed flat and the cost of the traditional milestones kept climbing past reach. But here's the part of this story that doesn't get nearly enough attention. Giving up on the old version of the American dream isn't the same as giving up on financial stability altogether. Some of the same research shows Gen Z pursuing financial independence earlier and more seriously than previous generations did at the same age. Specifically because they no longer trust that the old system will reward patience the way it used to. Instead of assuming a stable job in 30 years will eventually deliver a paid-off house, more young people are actively building alternative paths, skipping or delaying homeownership on purpose, prioritizing liquid savings and investing flexibility, and redefining what making it actually looks like on their own terms rather than their parents' terms. That's not defeat. That's adaptation. The old scoreboard assumed a set of conditions: stable housing costs relative to wages, predictable job tenure, a functioning path from saving to owning, that simply don't exist in the same form anymore. Measuring your progress against a scoreboard built for a different economy will make anyone feel like they're failing, even while they're actually making smart, deliberate decisions inside the economy that actually exists. So, if you felt like the traditional path doesn't add up no matter how disciplined you are, the data backs up what you're sensing. The math genuinely changed. The move isn't to blame yourself for not hitting milestones built for a different generation's economy. It's to build your own version of stability based on the actual numbers in front of you right now, not the ones your parents had. If this resonated with how you've been feeling about money and progress, hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments, have you redefined what making it looks like for yourself?